With the release of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, we now have 7 Transformers movies, so today I'm going to be stopping and ranking all 7 Transformers movies ranked from the worst to the best. Hello everyone, it's Ledger Forever, and as I just said, I'm ranking all 7 Transformers movies. I do like a lot of these movies, but I have to say, a franchise as a whole, pretty mediocre. Because they can have some really, really fun movies that are really good, but at the same time, they range from really good to absolute dumpster fires. Kind of like the Home Alone franchise. They have some high highs and they have some really low lows. So, with all that said, we're going to get started talking about the worst. So, coming into last place for me, I have Transformers The Last Night. Whew, this is not a good movie at all. This movie is terrible. I really do not like it. And the worst thing about it is this is one of my most disappointed movies ever because even though my father, who has all the movies purchased except for Rise of the Beasts, he watched this movie and he said that it was a really bad movie, but I took a look at it, saw the preview, and the preview is like possibly the best of all the Transformers previews. It's either that one or Dark of the Moon, but it just shows all the good stuff about the movie, which is very little, and even some of the bad stuff, just turning it in to look like the good stuff. And even when it made it look like it was going to be a really good movie where you get to see Optimus and Bumblebee having some really cool action fighting each other, nope. Their fight goes on for like 2 minutes, and then it's over. And the way that they the excuse they get to make Optimus go back to the good side was so stupid. The final fight is incredibly convoluted and really just, again, stupid. And there's way too many plot lines going on in this. It's about Optimus Prime turning evil. It's about Cade finding himself a girlfriend. It's about about the Earth going post-apocalyptic. It's about what is it? Unicron trying to come to Earth like they do in Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. There's way too much stuff going on here, and it just gets so lackluster so fast. It's really, really boring, and I've watched it, I think it's 2 or 3 times. I really do not like it. I really wish that I could erase it from my memory because it is a terrible film. So, for that reason, it comes into last place. In 6th place, Transformers Age of Extinction. Just like The Last Night, this was a huge disappointment for me because it looks so good because of the preview. Again, all these movies have an outstanding preview of the Bayverse films, and then for most of them, you watch the real movie and you're like, that was nowhere near as good as the preview said it was going to be, and I just really couldn't care for it at all. I thought that the boyfriend was awful in this movie. Cade is one of my least favorite characters, possibly in a movie ever. He is not a good character at all, and in this movie, he is awful. I really can't stand him in this, and your movie is very, that your movie is very bad when the character. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. The movie is bad when the writers are more confident and are trying to explain why the relationship between the boyfriend and the daughter is not statutory rape, then they care about making a movie that's good. And I do think there's some good stuff in here. Like, it's really good to see this much, much more angry and just a lot more brutal Optimus Prime. That's good, but once again, the third act of this film is terrible. The Dinobots are just thrown in there just for this film is so bad. Well, let's throw in the Dinobots. And I thought that was going to be amazing because Grimlock is one of my favorite characters in the Transformers franchise. And Grimlock, I don't think he even speaks in this entire franchise. I think he might have spoken a tiny bit in The Last Night. But it was just thrown in there. There's so much that's rushed or just explained for no reason. And I do think that there's some cool things in there, like a Transformer that is one that is hunting down other Transformers and that can shapeshift and stuff like that. That's really cool, but it's executed pretty bad. And There is so much in this film that I hate so much. Like, for every good thing in this film, which is very little, there's at least 10 bad things about it. Whew. I mean, it's objectively worse than The Last Night, but I can probably... this one is longer, though, so I might actually have this one in last place several times. I do know some people that actually do have it in last place, but objectively, I can finish this one easier than I can The Last Night, because this one does have its moments. Oh, The Last Night is absolutely terrible, though. But this film is terrible just as well, and it is abysmal. In fifth place, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I just think this movie is bad. I'm not going to say it's terrible like the two below it are, but I'm going to say it's bad. Now, it's not all its fault. It's not all Michael Bay's fault, but I will admit there's a lot of very juvenile humor in here and inappropriate jokes such as...
I am directly below the enemy scrotum.
And that's just weird. And it has some pretty big tonal shifts where you go from Sam, who's making out with a robot girl, and then the next scene, Optimus Prime is being violently killed by Megatron, and then they bring him back in the end of the movie. So there is so much just weird stuff in here, and this was not all Michael Bay's fault, because this was one of the films that was affected heavily by the writer's strike. So I think they told about some of the action sequences and like where it would take place. So then the writer's strike happened. So Michael Bay was like scouting to try and find the place to find and put the action sequences, but the writer's strike was going on. So there's some gigantic plot holes in this movie. There's just some huge exposition dumps in here to where they're talking about some stuff that you need to show, not talk about. That's what an exposition dump is, and there's just so much in here that is so weird, and you get a lot more Michael Bayisms in this one, where the original one, it had some Michael Bay humor, but this one, they turned that up to 11, where Michael Bay is just using some of his jokes that should not be in a kid's movie like this, although it's not really a kid's movie. This is a mature teen type of thing, in some ways, because like I showed you with that clip, that is some weird stuff here, and it has some good action sequences like the forest scene, but everything else is just weird and just dumb. And I get that they had a writer's strike going on, so it was heavily influenced by it, but still, it's just wow. It just had some stuff in here that I wasn't a big fan of, and I can watch it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. In fourth place is Transformers Rise of the Beast. The newly released film it's a good film. I will say it's good. So there's like a big leap in quality from Revenge of the Fallen to Rise of the Beast, because I do like this film. There's some fun to be had here. The humans are some of the better ones in this franchise. I do prefer Shia LaBeouf, which is crazy for people, and that I also do prefer Charlie. That's not crazy at all, because she was definitely one of the best in the franchise, easily. You cannot convince me otherwise. And this is a prequel to the Transformers movies, just like Bumblebee was. I think that they are in the same timeline or same universe, because I think they do hint at it, because there's a line that they say that tries to give a callback to Charlie, saying that one human was good to Bumblebee, and which does mean that they're calling back to Charlie. So that is a pretty fun fact. Also, there's a really funny scene in the movie where Optimus says, "Calling all Autobots," and then Bumblebee plays a clip of a scene in Die Hard in which Hans Gruber says,
"Yippee-ki-yay, mother."
And that was really funny. They did censor it through a loud noise, but it was really funny. And I really, really have some fun with this movie. I do think it's good, just nowhere near as memorable as some of the others on this list. I mean, the action in here is okay, I will say. It doesn't have the best action in the franchise, because as bad as Michael Bay is with the movies, you cannot deny he's had some pretty good action sequences in this franchise. because I did have a lot of problems with the last night and the fact that just pretty much everything. But when you think of the fight between Optimus and Bumblebee, their fight is really cool looking because you can see that there's a lot of damage being taken to both of them. So that's really cool. But this is not Bay, and just I have to say the Transformers do look a bit cheap. They look just like toys in this one. Meanwhile, in the Bayverse films, they are way different. They are so much bigger, so much cooler. So you don't get as much action in this one, but it's a lot more memorable than the bottom three below it. In third place, Bumblebee. I'm about to get a lot of heat for this one because this is number one for most people. And I can see why. It's a lot less like crass and a lot less Michael Bay than the other ones, partly because Michael Bay did not direct this one. I think he produced it, but he was nowhere near as involved in it as he was in the others, so therefore it's a lot more fun by nature, and the humans in this one are definitely more likable than the Bayverse films, even if my favorite character in the entire franchise of humans is still Sam. I don't know why, I just really like him. But I do think there's a lot of fun to be had in this movie. Point of reference, there's like another big leap in quality from Transformers Rise of the Beast to Bumblebee. These films are all like great. I really like these ones. And I do think that there's a lot better action in here than in Transformers Rise of the Beast. And in some cases, a lot of the ones below it, like Transformers The Last Night, Age of Extinction, and Revenge of the Fallen. There's some better action here than there is in there. And that's saying something because there's some really good action in those movies, no matter what the quality is of them. But John Cena, as usual, is always so funny in these movies, and well, I mean, he's only in one of the. I mean, in the movies that he's in, he's always really funny, and this is no different. He is cracking jokes. He can be funny. There is a scene where he's like joking around with a gun. I'll show you.
I haven't been hit yet.
Oh, okay, you know what? That's too close, man. You could have taken out an eye. I got a date tonight, man. This ain't sexy.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Ow!
That one was on me.
Yeah.
That's a malfunctioning trigger. This weapon is just faulty. Someone is going to get a talking to when they...
Stop! All right, just stop.
And it is hilarious, just the stuff that he can do, and he's one of my favorite characters in this franchise. He's very funny, and Bumblebee is really funny in this movie. Just the way that Charlie's having to teach her about how humans can be bad, and how she's like, "Oh, hide," and then he hides. And then he hides. I think he hides on a. He tries to hide behind a rock, and the rock is so little, so it just looks ridiculous, which is hilarious. And I do really, really, really enjoy this movie. I do think that it can drag sometimes, but I can get over it, and I do have a lot of fun with this movie. Just when I look at the two above it, I just think that there's some better action here, and I'm an action guy, so that's one of the reasons I gravitate more towards those. But this is a really, really fun movie, and if you like this as your number one, I totally agree with you on that one, that you are right to have it in number one if you like it like that. But do I think that it's number one? Not for me, but if you like it, I can totally get on board with that and agree with you that it is a really good movie. Our runner-up, Transformers Dark of the Moon. This movie is really good in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. This movie is great. And I just really am a big fan of action. There's like big, messy, like really good action with lots of explosions. That's why this film is right for me, because you get to see some really big action scenes in this thing. You get to see the Decepticons leveling Chicago, destroying thousands of people. And there's a lot of action in this film. Like, almost all Chicago is completely destroyed in the fight. You get to see a huge kill count. It has the highest kill count in any Transformers movie by far. Because people are dying, and they are dying bad. You can see, it really pushed the PG-13 limit as far as it would go. Because you see dead bodies in a subway station, and like in some pretty graphic ways. It's really violent, but it's really fun. And I know a lot of people like to complain that there's no character arcs for any of these people. I don't really mind that, because I feel like 1 and 2 kind of set up their character arcs for like Sam. And I actually think Carly's a much better like girlfriend than what is her name? Michaela. I never liked Michaela at all. She was always so like annoying or bratty. Just not someone I liked at all. And Michaela, you can tell that Carly is someone that cares about Sam way more than you could tell that she cared about Sam way more than Michaela ever did, and she's a lot nicer. She's a lot cooler. She can hold her own probably better than Michaela did, because she even managed to trick Megatron into actually killing Sentinel Prime, which is hilarious. That Megatron got outsmarted by a human, and a human like that is hilarious. And I just really love this. I thought that it would be my favorite when I saw it. I saw it the same day I saw Die Hard. I watched it in a hotel. Then my dad and I watched the movie Die Hard. So I saw one really, really good movie, and I saw the second greatest movie of all time. So, yeah. And that just might help it because I had a really fun day when I watched it. So it's always been a really good movie for me. I watched it I think 3 or 4, and it's just a movie that I've always enjoyed. And if you don't like it because of just some of the ways of the characters and how they are, I can understand that. But if you take it on its own, like action, some really good, and just like a schlocky robot punching movie, it's really fun. So that is the reason it comes in at number 2. But coming into first place for me is the original Transformers. And I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of this movie, and just Michael Bay, as usual, just does have some like characters that aren't the best, or they do like to have in all these movies, except for like the ones that don't have Michael Bay in them. They'll either do something really weird, like they do in like Dark of the Moon, to have some weird stuff in it, I will admit, but in this one, it's mostly all about the angles for Michael Bay. 1 and 2 were all about the angles for the women, and you can see that on full display. He really likes it. There's kind of a reason that Megan Fox complained about Michael Bay, which led to her getting fired. And that's the reason why Carly is in the third film and not Michaela, because they made an excuse that Michaela and Sam broke up, but the real thing was that Megan Fox was fired after she made a comment about Michael Bay, and Steven Spielberg and him decided that she had to go. So that's actually a fun fact, but this one just has some really good action scenes. I think Dark of the Moon has overall the best action, but if I'm talking about which one have I seen more, it's Transformers. Which one do I like more? It's Transformers. And which one is the one I'm more likely to revisit? Probably the original, but I do have a lot of fun with this movie, and people also like to give this a lot of heat because it spawned a franchise that would eventually give us Age of Extinction, Revenge of the Fallen, The Last Night, some big stinkers. So if that's a reason you don't like it, I can understand, because boy are those movies bad. But I do think that there's a lot of really fun moments here, and Colonel Williams, I think that's his name. He's really fun in this movie. He's in all the movies except for Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast, and Age of Extinction. But he came back for The Last Night, and he was much older. But he was still able to be in the military or wherever he was. I don't even know what it was, but it's a really fun movie, and it I don't know why this is what I call a taco movie or a popcorn movie. I think I'm gonna change the expression to taco movie. It's junk food of a movie. I enjoy it, but I shouldn't enjoy it so much, because that's the way Dark of the Moon and the original one are. I enjoy them way more than I should, but nevertheless, I enjoy them. It's fun, it's schlocky, but I do really enjoy it. And for that reason, it comes in at number 1. There you have it, everyone. There's my ranking of all the Transformers movies ranked from worst to best. Let me know your ranking in the comments below. I'm curious to know what your thoughts on mine are, because mine are definitely going to attract a lot of heat for some of the ways I placed them, but I am kind of proud with how I with how I placed them. And if you did not like my ranking, then let me know about it, but also share yours, because I'm curious to see what you think of Rise of the Beasts. Some people really like it, some people really hate it. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching this. Please like and subscribe. I'm nearly at 100 subscribers, and I would really love to get into that. And thank you all so much for watching. Have a good one.